Am I the asshole for telling my husband he can't go to the bar with his friend? TW. Miscarriage. I, 24F, and my husband, 25M, have his cousin's gender revealed tomorrow. We'll call her Steph. Steph got married October last year and had a miscarriage a few months ago. She was obviously devastated when telling my husband and I at the time. Last week, she was ecstatic to tell the family that she's pregnant again. Unfortunately, her husband didn't want to have another child. He has 2 with his previous wife. He is now saying that he made it known he didn't want another child, claiming that the unborn baby isn't his, and has now filed for divorce. He kicked Steph out of their house and has drained their bank account, leaving Steph with nothing and to move back in with her parents. Steph is still having her gender reveal tomorrow, and the family has been rallying around her while she navigates through everything. My husband, we'll call him Josh, messaged me earlier saying that he will still be going to Steph's gender reveal but is leaving once the gender's announced to go watch UFC with one of his buddies at Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is a sports bar where women are half naked serving. Does that upset me? Yes. But I'm mostly upset that he will be at Steph's gender reveal for maybe an hour then leaving to watch wrestling. Steph isn't a random cousin that we only see at holidays. Steph and Josh grew up close and have a great relationship. With that being said, I told Josh he needs to move his plans to a different day and be there for Steph while she goes through this difficult time. He said no. I texted Josh's buddy and told him a little about the situation and asked that their plans be moved to a different day. Josh then called me, told me not to message his friend, I'm overreacting, and that his plans aren't changing and he doesn't want to be around the family drama. It upsets me the most that I am there for Josh's family more than he is. He will always prioritize friendships over his family and has proven that more than I could ever count in the past 5 years. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for telling my husband he can't go to the bar with his buddy? Edit. Can y'all please stop honing in on the gender reveal part? I get that they're dumb. Me nor my husband truly care about the gender, it's about being there for his family during a traumatic time in his cousin's life. Please stop pointing out how dumb GR parties are. I agree with you and that's not the point of the post. Edit. I don't care that he's going to Twin Peaks, he's been there several times with his brother and other friends. Does it make me uncomfortable? Yes. Am I going to start a fight over it? No. Please stop saying that I'm actually mad over that and using the party as a cover-up. LMFAO. Edit. He has done this before at past family events, shows up for an hour and leaves to hang with friends. It's almost normal for him at this point. But what makes me upset are the circumstances surrounding this celebration of his cousin and he's still deciding to leave early. That's why I'm upset. Any other family event I don't care. It's showing her support due to the fact that she is now going to become a single mom. You are the asshole, it's his family, and if he doesn't want to go to a gender reveal party, which is a ridiculous thing anyway, he doesn't have to. If that is your thing, go and enjoy it. You are the asshole. He's showing up to the gender reveal to show support and honestly it's his family and his relationship with his cousin. He can deal with the consequences if his cousin is mad, but he doesn't seem to care, so that's on him. It seems like you're more mad that he's going to Twin Peaks and or bitter that you feel obligated to stay when he can leave. You can leave early also if you want. You are the asshole. He's an adult and gets to decide how he spends his time. I personally think spending an hour at a gender reveal is enough time. If his cousin has a lot of family and friends there, one more isn't really making a difference. More important to spend someone-on-one time or actually help out when she needs it. I think the answer will definitely change depending on who's reading. As a man I think you are overreacting, to be honest. He's still showing face. Why does it matter if he stays the whole time? I'm sure a lot of women will agree. Not the asshole, but you shouldn't have contacted his friend, it's an issue between you and him. Honestly, it sounds like the root issue isn't this party but the pattern of him not putting in the effort to show he cares. You may just show that you care in different ways, but if you feel like he's not present or showing up emotionally, then I can see how this would be the straw that broke the camel's back. Do you think he'd spend the hour at the party being enthusiastic and engaged and really supporting his cousin? Or is he making an appearance? Do you feel like he expects you to do all the caring for him? Let this party go. But maybe spend some time thinking about the pattern and whether this is about not supporting his cousin, or not pulling his weight in your relationship. Am I the asshole for refusing to DD anymore and leaving 3 drunk friends stranded? I, F, have 3 friends from college, Maisie, Tom, and Neela. We're all mid-30s now. We usually get together once a month to have dinner despite work and family obligations, virtually during the global event. 6 months ago, I had to stand up to everyone about splitting the bill evenly because everyone else orders and eats appetizers and desserts, and everyone else drink copious amounts of alcohol every time we get together. I typically eat a main and drink water. I started checking menus in advance and only bringing enough cash to cover my bill plus tip and would forget my card at home and eventually sternly told them that I was no longer willing to pay an additional $50 $100 every time we went out to cover their appetizers, desserts, and drinking habits. Well, they all decided because I wasn't drinking anything but water, I should be the DD, which I initially agreed to because I was just happy that they eventually stopped arguing with me about splitting the bill. But at the time I told them firmly if any of them ever threw up in my car, that would be the end of it. Last month, Tom nearly threw up in my car. The only reason he didn't is because I pulled over and pulled him out of the car and onto the pavement instead. I sent a group text the next morning stating that I was no longer going to DD, and everyone complained that Tom only almost threw up in my car. I again refused and told them that next month, they either had to limit their drinking so they could drive, or they had to find their own ride. Last weekend, I reminded everyone I wasn't driving anyone home. No one limited their intake at all, and by the end of the night, they were too drunk to even handle paying their bill. I went up and asked for my bill separately, paid, and walked out without saying goodbye. Tom's wife had to have her mother watch their 2 kids while she had to come down, cover their bills, and give Maisie and Neela rides home, and Tom and Maisie both threw up in her car. I was getting hateful calls and texts all week telling me I had to pay to have Tom's wife's car cleaned and pay his mill for watching the kids. Maisie and Neela have been calling me all kinds of names for abandoning them, but I snapped that they were all 3 sheets to the wind even after being told last month I wasn't driving them anymore. Tom eventually called to yell at me that if I didn't split the bill, and if I didn't DD, then what use was I? I asked if that was how he treated his wife, Maisie, or Neela, if they were only allowed to be around if they were useful, because here I thought we were all just enjoying one another's company, since I certainly wasn't gaining anything useful from them spending hundreds of dollars funding their eating and drinking habits and then wasting my gas to drive their drunk asses home. I was blocked and none of them will speak to me now, and I just need to know if I'm the asshole here. Edit. I used to drink heavily, too. I had to quit for an unrelated medical reason. Not the asshole. You've just realized that they didn't actually like you all that much, and by their description you probably shouldn't like them either. They are users. Tom eventually called to yell at me that if I didn't split the bill, and if I didn't DD, then what use was I? Yay, these people are not your friends. Sounds to me like you guys had a relationship based around drinking heavily. Now that you don't drink and won't be their DD, and won't pay for their meals, they have no use for you. They sound like shitty people anyways. Who gets so obliterated drunk at a restaurant that they're too incoherent to pay the bill and then puke in the car? Move on from these people. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your friends are toxic people and you clearly don't need to put up with their BS. Not the asshole. And also, if people in their 30s are still regularly drinking so much at a restaurant that they can't pay the bill and throw up, then holy shit, they need to grow the fuck up. Not the asshole. You set clear and strict boundaries and they got upset when you stood your ground and didn't let them cross them. You deserve better people in your life. Am I the asshole for having my neighbor's car towed and causing her to lose her job? About a year ago a new neighbor moved in next to me. She does not have a driveway and I do, so she has to park her car on the street. Occasionally, I would see her car parked in front of my driveway. Usually I would just park on the street and not say anything, or I would go and ask her to move her car. This went on for a few months, and she eventually got a parking ticket for parking in front of my driveway and stopped blocking my driveway entirely. In May, my neighbor was parking her car in front of my driveway again. I asked her again to please not block my driveway. She said she would make no promises because she didn't know how to park on the street. I told her that she needed to learn how to park better because she lived in a neighborhood where that was the only option for most people, and that it wasn't my problem that she didn't know how to parallel park. She got extremely angry and all of the goodwill between us stopped after that argument. At the beginning of July, she started a new job where she had to work nights, and our schedules were now totally opposite of one another. I would come home and her car would always blocking my driveway, and when I went to leave for work in the morning her car would always be blocking my driveway. After about a week of not being able to access our driveway, I asked my husband and he said it would be best to just let it be because working nights is stressful and she's probably under a lot of stress having starting a new job. I didn't agree with this, but I kept my cool. About 2 weeks ago, I got home from a bad day of work very angry and decided to do something about it. I called the police and let them know that someone was blocking my driveway. They said they would send out a tow truck to have the car moved. The tow truck driver began to pick up the car, and as this was happening my neighbor ran out screaming and begging with the tow truck driver to not take it because she would lose her job. I felt no regret. She was doing something illegal and had already got a ticket for this once before. She had her warning. The tow truck driver just told her it would be $800 to pick up the car from the city lot. This whole time she was saying some pretty mean things to me, calling me names, calling my husband names, and threatening us. I have not seen the car on the street ever since. A few days ago, I saw her outside and she began screaming at me telling me that she lost her job. I said that I was sorry for what happened, but that it was her fault for blocking my driveway. My husband and I talked about it, and he said that while he was on my side he felt that I was an asshole for getting her car towed and making her lose her job, and that we should at least pay her the $800 to get her car back. I'm not sure if they added on extra fees for storing the car for this long now. And I don't think we should pay her anything, because I had already tried being nice once before and it didn't work out. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. On another note, is your husband banging her? Because forking out $800 to someone who's been rude, disrespectful and continuously causing you inconvenience is just not normal. Not the asshole. You did nothing wrong. Your neighbor is an idiot, and it's her own fault she got towed. But seriously, what is wrong with your husband? Is he fucking the neighbor? Why on earth is he so willing to give her $800 and let her park in front of your driveway? Not the asshole, but your husband obviously doesn't have your back if he thinks you should pay $800 for something that was her own doing and she had plenty of warnings over. Not the asshole. She didn't care if she was blocking you from going to work, and potentially getting fired. She brought this on herself. Not the asshole. Fafo. You gave her many opportunities to change her behavior. Hell, the city even gave her one too. She didn't, and now she can bear the consequences of her actions. If she didn't want to risk losing her job, she should have legally parked her car. And, respectfully, your husband needs to grow a pair. Am I the asshole for asking my dad to grab his belongings from my house? Long story short, my mom bought the house she grew up in from her parents at a very reduced price and started my family with my dad. My brother and I, 22F, grew up in that house, and my dad had to fight to keep it when my mom passed away in 2017 from breast cancer, and ultimately saved it with her life savings. My dad recently got engaged to his new GF, and they wanted to buy a new house to move in together. When he got ready to sell, my boyfriend, 27M, and I were in the market. We decided to buy this house because it meant a lot to me that it was my late mom's house. My dad immediately said he wasn't giving us a family discount, and that he needed as much dollar as possible for his nice big new house. Now, this house was extremely neglected and my parents didn't do any big renovations my whole childhood. There was a lot of maintenance that hadn't been handled since my grandparents moved out before I was even born. It was going to take a lot of money to get it up to the standards of literally just a normal house, so naturally my boyfriend and I tried to negotiate the price to get what we were paying for. My dad got really mad at us both and admitted that he didn't really care if I got the house, he just needed to sell it for the big bucks. This was the root of a lot of arguments and he decided to barely talk to either of us leading up to the closing. Fast forward to when we buy the house and start working on it. My dad had left a shit ton of his belongings in bedrooms, garage, attic, shed, etc. Most of it surprisingly being my mom's stuff that he no longer had room for. My brother and I speculate that he wanted to forget his old life and move on with his new girl. My boyfriend and I asked him many times to come and grab his stuff, as we wanted a fresh start and it was hard to start renovations when there was still all of this clutter. He would huff and puff and state that all of this was pawned onto him when my mom passed and that he didn't care for it. Throughout the process of renovations, my dad helped with absolutely nothing, while my BF's dad was there with us every weekend painting and renovating. Quite literally all I asked from him was to come and get the rest of his stuff. It was always the same excuses about how he has no room and that he thought I would want all of it. He now states that if I want it gone, then I'm the one who needs to pay for a dumpster to have it all disposed of. Funniest parts to me is that he left some couches he didn't want, making it so there's no room for new furniture, and obviously the appliances. I mentioned trying to sell the couches and fridge on Facebook Marketplace. To that he replied he wanted the money from since he paid for them in the beginning. I told him that I didn't want them to begin with and he's had months to come get them, so no, I will be keeping that money. This started a whole other string of arguments. So Reddit, am I the asshole for asking him to come grab his belongings so that my boyfriend and I can have a fresh start? Not the asshole. Keep and print out the text exchange of you asking him to pick the stuff up and him say he doesn't want it, thought you'd want it. Tuck them away in case he ever decides to cause trouble about it. You can prove he abandoned his property. Have a garage sale. Not the asshole. As soon as you closed on the house, all that stuff became yours. Out of courtesy tell him he has X days to get what he wants, after that, throw it out or sell it. Not the asshole. Just do what you want with that stuff. There's no point of even telling him if you dumped or sold any of it. If he asks in the future, just tell him that you solved the issue yourself and everything's gone. Your dad it. You bought the house. Anything left in it is yours to do with as you wish unless there is something in writing in the sales contract. Probably isn't. Just sell the stuff and ignore your dad. Refuse to discuss it with him. He sound like a huge jerk and a horrible father. Don't waste your time on this issue. Dump the junk. Not the asshole. It's abandoned property and he has no right to the CSSH.